A presentation by Eric Matsuoka for the course DL5103, Instructional Models for Digital Learning, Module 4 Application, March 29, 2015. Project-Based Learning, or PBL, promotes principles of Universal Design for Learning, or UDL, in introductory college statistics courses. In project-based learning, students actively participate in every single phase of the project from start to finish. They go through the entire process as self-motivated individuals instead of reacting to material that instructors assign and instructors require for assessment. Students begin the process by considering questions in their areas of interest based on and guided by their innate curiosity. So this is again in stark contrast to instructors telling students you must study this and you must learn it in this way so that you can demonstrate it in that way when I finally get around to testing you on it. Students who use their innate curiosity, of course, will be more interested in the material that they are going to embark on studying. After finalizing a line of inquiry, students plan and implement solutions to the questions that they asked. Now, these are student questions and they are not predetermined by the instructor, so while there are some common themes, after all, this is an introductory statistics class, the students will have to get together and plan what they're going to do, collaborate on the initiation and the actual mechanics of doing or implementing their solution, and finally creating a deliverable, but they get feedback from each other as well as the instructor as they go along. The instructor does not determine the nature of the activities involved as well as the deliverable. However, the instructor is there to provide support along with the classmates who work in the same group, who likewise will provide support to their team members. Bell found that PBL, project-based learning, produces a greater understanding of a topic, deeper learning, higher order reading, and increased motivation to learn. These are these critical thinking skills that we want students to have for the 21st century. So they end up thinking about what they're doing and learning more deeply instead of simply regurgitating facts that we've given them when it's time to take a paper, pencil, multiple choice exam. While self-regulated learning is both a component of and a goal of PBL, we don't just let the students go on their own with no guidance. Teachers are always there to provide support and scaffolding when the students need assistance. Instead of an objective final exam, a project-based learning capstone is a better summative assessment that allows students to actively and authentically experience statistics instead of simply doing calculations and reciting definitions that we've given them in the past. Universal Design for Learning meets individual student needs through flexibility in delivery, assignments, and activities. The project-based learning process encourages students to seek information in multiple and flexible modes, which is the first UDL principle. This goes hand in hand with students creating their own topic of inquiry as well as determining their mode of investigation. Students are not required to do as they're told according to a long list of directions one after another, but rather they get involved and they look to see exactly how they would like to receive the information or how they would like to learn the information that they need in order to solve the problem that they determined. The student-driven project-based learning process encourages them to come up with flexible tasks and forms of expression and deliverables. This is the second Universal Design for Learning principle. One example of this is in the deliverable itself. Instead of the standard paper, pencil, or printed Word document that is oftentimes required of a project, students might opt to using a Web 2.0 tool like digital storytelling, and this gives them the ability to play to their strengths as opposed to forcing them into a paradigm set up by the instructor. Once again, UDL focuses on flexibility and allowing students to showcase their own talents and skills in Web 2.0 tools while demonstrating mastery or proficiency in the course outcomes will stop the format of the deliverable itself from being a barrier to students earning credit for the learning that they've actually completed. The student-selected line of project-based learning inquiry provides for flexible means of motivation and engagement, the third UDL principle. Now, the big deal for this is that students are not sitting there thinking, why do I have to do this? Somebody told me to, that's why I have to. I don't like doing this. It doesn't make any sense, and so on. We know that some students, regardless of motivation, will work hard at whatever project they're assigned to do. However, students who get to pick their own topic, they've self-motivated themselves by picking something that interests them. So motivation and engagement is a key element to ensuring that all students, not just the ones who are really, really motivated to be, as we call them, good students, will be able to succeed and show what they've learned in the course. A project-based learning group term project in a statistics course covers the learning outcomes for the statistics course in a manner better suited to 21st century thinking and learning than an exam would. Okay? In part because students are able to collaborate on the project, and in part because they get to actually participate in things as opposed to simply sitting back, listening, and hopefully getting answers correct on a multiple choice exam. Now, in this statistical capstone project, students formulate their own statistical questions and plan their own studies. Once again, this is the classic project-based learning model where students determine their own line of inquiry, try to figure out exactly how they are going to address that line of inquiry, and then go ahead and execute. Along the way, teachers offer students guidance in the technical terminology and practices. Students wanting to, say, study their favorite foods, one of the questions that might come up to them is, do other people like these foods? Well, there are many different ways of approaching that, some of which are not necessarily the greatest in terms of statistical reliability, and others are much better. Students may not realize this at first, so they jump in with both feet, think about, well, gee, if I like this food and I ask the people who go to the same restaurant that I do if they like the food, then if they do, that must be that everybody likes the food. Well, the teacher would be there to kind of point out, but what about those who don't go to that particular restaurant? They might like that food, but just not from that restaurant. And then that actually can lead into a discussion of sampling techniques in the sampling frame. So teachers are there to guide students not only in the workings of their project, but also to kind of channel them into seeing the formal statistical terminology and practices that the students are intuitively doing, but that they should relate to the technical terminology and practices so that when they have to read other literature later on, or they're encountering other statistical studies that others do, that they are able to recognize what's going on and relate it to the experiences that they actually had. When teachers provide assistance to students as they're working on their projects, it's often based on technology and often uses discovery and scaffolding as opposed to the traditional direct instruction. Telling students to do this, this, and then this, and then this, and then you'll finally end up with that, not only pushes their level of thinking down many notches of blooms, but also does not lend itself to the flexibility that universal design for learning calls for. Students who need alternate forms will not react well when told, no, you must do this and this and this, whereas if they're allowed to explore things on their own and given support as they do so, they can bloom with it. And that's, sorry for the pun about bloom. These are the references that I've used in various forms during this presentation. I hope you enjoyed the presentation.